Yes, sir. And we welcome you back to the second segment of the Shakeback Sports Show right here on the Big Game Christian Sports Network. It's your boy, Willie Epting Jr. holding it down. We got a special family guest. I say family guest because y'all know how we do it here at the SBMG. The first time you are on the show, you are a guest. Anytime after that, you are family, but family guest because she is my hashtag sissy of the BGCSN1 and BGCSN2. We're going to bring Natalie Hicks in here in just a second. Just in case you missed it in the first segment, man, we talked about the continued first time of seeing things in this country as former President Donald Trump was indicted on 34 felonious charges this past week. And we also got into the NBA a little bit as the season is over and playoff basketball is here. We're going to have our full season playoff playoff preseason show sometime during the next episode. So make sure you look out for that. Before we move any further, though, in this second segment, it is being brought to you by us. Who is us? We is us. Well, who is we? We is the Big Game Christian Sports Network. It is time for the overhyped, unofficial, and slightly censored NFL Draft Talk 2023. 2 locations, North and South. It's about that time again for that auspicious and bodacious gathering in 2 different locations. Join the BGC Sports Network on Thursday, April 27th, 7 p.m. for the OUSC. That is the overhyped, unofficial, and slightly censored NFL Draft Talk 2023 North and South. Ardmore, Oklahoma, Sideline Sports and Grill, TJ's Catfish and Wings, Arlington, Texas. We discuss, debate, prognosticate, litigate, and I almost said castigate, but that probably wouldn't be politically correct. And sometimes even agree to disagree about who's going where and why in the NFL draft. Come on out and enjoy the draft with some live interactions and delicious menus at both establishments. Save the date, April 27th, 7 p.m., the overhyped, unofficial, and slightly censored NFL Draft Talk. You know John Brown, well, you ain't got nothing to do. So make it a date. Don't be late. And I'm going to tell you right now, you guys need to beat us there. Don't meet us there. All right, so bringing behind curtain number 1. She is the host of Sports from Her Perspective on the BGC Sports Network. You can hear her shows. I'll let her tell you that. I believe it's the 9s and 2s, but she'll confirm that when she comes into the studio. She actually, her and her husband, Mr. Sportsopedia, I call them the Martin and Pam of sports talk because they get into it like Martin and Pam do on the show Martin. I ain't talking about nobody other than Natalie Hicks.
Hello, everybody.
What's up, sis? How you feeling?
I'm good. How are you?
Everything is wonderful. So tell everybody when they can hear your show. I think I'm not sure I got the time right.
You did, but it's okay. I'm just glad to hear you announce it. It's on the 10 and 4s on BGC Sports Network 1. And it's on the 11 and 5s on BGC Sports Network 2.
Yes, and I'm telling you right now, when they get together and it's the Cowboys against the 49ers, that is some must-hear radio because Mr. Sportsopedia is a 49ers fan, and of course, Natalie is a Cowboys fan. Let me ask you about this before we get into the topic at hand. Right. Let me ask you about those Cowboys before we actually get into the topic at hand.
Why?
Well, because I wanted to get your take on something real quick.
Okay.
What's your take on Ezekiel Elliott being released?
Bye. You weren't
Just
doing
like
anything.
That?
He wasn't doing anything anyway. The next one on the chopping block is Dak, and Dak is a Louisiana boy. I root for him, but you ain't doing nothing. So you got Super Bowl money, and you ain't got us to the Super Bowl. Your time clock on.
Look, you can't say that Dak is on the chopping block next because Dak is not the reason.
He needs to be. No, he's not. Okay, but let me say this. No, he's not the reason we haven't gotten to the Super Bowl. No, is he partially?
Troy Aikman.
But we got to the Super Bowl with Troy Aikman.
This is very true. This is very, very true.
So I mean, even with him being the Acme Brick, we still Acme Brick got us to the Super Bowl. So I'm not gonna knock Troy. Dak ain't
Right.
got me to the Super Bowl. Dak ain't even got me to a conference championship. So yeah, Dak
How
still got
many
stuff
win-
to prove.
how many wins does Dak have in the playoffs since he's been in Dallas? Is it 2 or 3?
Two, two,
2.
two.
Well, he's got one more than Tony Romo. And I actually like Tony Romo. I thought Tony Romo got a bad rap from Cowboys fans, particularly here in Dallas, but you know how it is. All right, so let's get to the matter at hand. As we saw this past week, the LSU Lady Tigers, led by the homegirl Kim Mulkey out of Hammond, Louisiana, they take it to the Iowa Lady Hawkeyes in the highest scoring women's championship game of all time, as Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark put on a, it was, to
A
me,
show.
it's like a bird versus magic type of thing. And I've already termed this, Natalie, as the new bird and magic rivalry. What do you think? What do you think about me terming it that?
I like that. That's a great scenario for it. I have to say, being in the building, and I'm not even just talking about Sunday. Let's go back to Friday. It was just electric within the American Airlines arena. Have been there for a couple of Mavericks games, but it was nothing like being there this past weekend. I've been to, now I'm going to really show my age. I've been to Reunion Arena where they've had women's Final Fours and nobody was there, giving tickets away and still nobody was there, to seeing 19 plus in a sold out American Airlines Center. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, and a show was definitely put on between those two squads. Kim Mulkey has now won a championship as a player. She's won a couple of championships as a coach. She already has, of course, an Olympic gold medal.
Correct.
So the game itself was very entertaining, in my opinion. I think for LSU, their defensive strategy around Caitlin Clark was phenomenal. Even though we know she could pull up from half court, um, and she did score 30 points, but it seemed like a 30 points that wasn't those dagger type points that we're accustomed from seeing from Caitlin throughout her career. But
Right.
let's point to, and she played a terrific game. Angel played. Look, I can't even remember the young lady's name for LSU that was banging in all the threes. I can't remember.
Jasmine Carson.
Yes, I actually thought that she was going to be, and I forgot that they do most outstanding player for the entire tournament. But for
Okay,
that
well
game,
I'm gonna stop you right there.
okay,
I
okay,
I was okay. No, I wasn't. I wasn't okay with Angel getting it because I really believe, one, they wouldn't have won without Jasmine, first off.
right.
Secondly, Alexis Morris is a beast on the court.
Mm-hmm,
Not taking anything away from Caitlin, Alexis Morris is the truth. And
mm-hmm,
that's what I really felt should have gotten it was Alexis. Alexis is a true leader on that court.
mm-hmm.
Alex Angel is great. She's a great rebounder. Can't take nothing away from her. But Alexis Morris should have gotten that MVP. That's just
30,
Natalie.
34 double doubles on the season. Of course, that is a record for women's college basketball.
Correct.
You talk about a walking double double. That reminds me of how Kevin Love was when he first came into the league with the Timberwolves. He was a walking double double, but everybody has been making a big deal about the end of the game and the "you can't see me" and the ring and all of that. Now we all know what happened. We saw what happened. We've seen it multiple trillions, or like Lil John and the East Side Boys will say, we saw it 50, 11 times. I want to ask you some serious questions about not just the what we saw, but the backlash by some folks out there that seem to have had a problem with it. Now, Caitlin has come out and said she didn't have a problem with it. Holly Rowe from from ESPN came out and said she didn't have a problem with it. Did you have a problem with it?
No, because I'm gonna be honest, I didn't see it until after I got home.
Mm,
Um, I think the backlash made it a bigger deal than what it really was. Like Caitlin Clark said, It's a part of sports. Now, if the men had done it, it's no big deal. We move on from it. But because the ladies were doing it, and now my daughter will probably say, and I know if she's watching, she didn't like the fact that Angel kind of walked behind or made sure Caitlyn saw her. Okay, I get that, but still, that's a part of sports.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because would we be having this conversation if these were two men doing this?
Not at all. It
Would we
wouldn't
be?
have. It wouldn't have. It wouldn't have hit Twitter. It wouldn't have hit anything. This would have been just, he did it. We moved on.
But wait, there's more.
There's
would
more.
we?
There's
Would
a
we?
whole lot more from this weekend, and to me, that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Well, and here's because I'm going to continue these questions. Would we have a problem with it if it were um a black man and a white man on the court doing this?
No, I
Would
don't
we
think so.
would we have had a problem if it were two black women doing this?
Not at all.
Would we have had a problem if there were two white girls doing this?
No, they probably would have even made light of it.
So why is this such a big deal now?
I think that, like I said, the conversations afterwards, the comments that Angel Reese made afterwards, kind of ignited a fire. Um, and you had some comments that came from people that just troll Twitter. When people, how they always say people drink liquor and they get a lot of liquid confidence.
Yep.
Well, I think a lot of people got Twitter confidence, behind the keyboard, using the keyboard, saying whatever it is they want to say. The one thing that bothers me is that this is not 1963, this is 2023, and we're still deeply involved in racism, like we
Mm-hmm.
are. And it took away from how great this weekend was for women's sports, for when not just women's basketball, but just for women's sports to be supported like it was this weekend. That whole little debacle on Twitter just took away from how great that was to see the American Airlines Center sold out and that many people there supporting women's sports.
Yeah, and that whole thing in itself was terribly unfortunate because um I'm gonna read something from Twitter that a gentleman by the name of David Portnoy. I don't know if you've ever heard of him or not. And he basically said this is when Pat Bev gave the "you too small" sign to LeBron James on the court, and
Mhm.
Dave Portnoy said this may be my new screensaver. I love it so much. At Pat Bev, at King James. Okay, so then you have Angel Reese doing the ring, pointing to her finger, and then he decides to say classless piece of S.
Mhm.
That's a double standard if I
Right.
have ever seen or heard one before in my life. Did you happen to see that tweet? And if not, what are your thoughts about it when I just read it to you?
It's a double standard. Why is it okay for the men to do it and for them to do whatever it is that they do on their end, but as soon as a woman do it, especially a black woman, it's a problem. It's an issue. Why?
I'm glad you asked me that because I have the answer. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
This guy, who has over 1 million followers on Twitter, by the way, I had never heard of him up until this point. And when I tweeted it and then I screenshotted it and put it on some other platforms, they were like, yeah, this dude is a complete, whatever, whatever, whatever. I'm like, I never heard of him. But here's the problem that I have with it. It was okay when it was a black man against a black man and you have a white guy that's saying that he loved it. But when a person of color did the same thing to a white chick, then it became a problem. So to me, what that signifies to me is, oh, you don't have a problem with black on black stuff, but do not mess with the melanated skinned people.
I like how
And
you put
then
that
it
out
becomes
there.
a problem. That's where it rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah, like I said, that whole And I will say, I sat there and read Twitter all day long, and I was angry, reading some of the comments. Angel had her right, and we have the right to say whatever it is we feel.
Mm-hmm.
We're protected by that. But
Mm-hmm.
she did something, the same thing Caitlyn did to Louisville, and it's a problem. But Caitlyn did it. It's okay. That's the biggest problem I have with it all. They didn't even make a big deal about her doing it. Did they show it? Yeah. But it wasn't made a big deal like when Angel did it. But like I said, I know, like I said, if my daughter's watching, I know she's gonna say, but she followed her. Okay, she did. But still, it's not that big of a deal. She did the same thing.
Right. And here's where I want us to make sure that we don't lose sight of this. Because nobody is in any way vilifying Caitlin Clark for anything that she did.
Correct.
That ain't what this is about. Nobody is actually throwing her under the bus or saying that we hate her. That ain't even what this is about.
No, because Caitlin Clark, she's a baller.
She can play some doggone basketball.
Yes.
And the fact that she can pull up like Steph Curry can, as Stephen A has called her, the women's version of Steph Curry. This ain't about that. This is about those trolls out there who don't have any other type of common sense, or maybe they know exactly what it is that they're doing, but they think that some people are dumb out here, and that's just not what it is. We got a couple of social media comments, and then we got to get out. This segment went by so fast.
Of course it does.
My main man George Mendicky out of Cleveland says, do either you on this panel have a problem with the women's John Wooden Award winner? I do not. But I mean, I didn't keep a watch on women's basketball, but from everything what I did see, that lady deserved that award. And he also says, and again, I stated I had zero problem with Angel Reese or Caitlin Clark just during the tourney. By the way, did Aaron Donald do the ring pose on Joe Burrow once? He sure did, with no problem.
And we didn't talk about it,
and we never talked about it. I have zero problem. It's been the gabbers with media prestige, ESPN and others, inflating this content or this topic rather. So that's my main man, George. He actually is in Cleveland, Ohio. He listens to WOVU with me and Rachel Hill 95.9 out there on Mondays and Tuesdays. So we always support him. Natalie, real quick, how can they follow you on social media?
Follow the show, like the page Sports From Her Perspective on Facebook. We're on Twitter at Sports From Her, as well as on Instagram, Sports From Her Perspective.
And we got to continue doing more of this. We got to do more cross-hosting with the network. I don't know what I need to do in order to get that across to folks, but we're going to continue to work on it.
All right. Call me. Let me know when you want me to come back.
I got you. All right, Natalie. We appreciate you coming on. Y'all come on back on the other side of the break. We're going to get to some NFL, and we're going to get out here with our final thoughts. So for Natalie Hicks, Willie Epstein Jr., dopest engineer in the game, big day. Y'all come on back and holler at us.